Happy Sabbath. Sometimes the phone just doesn't recognize the touch. So, well, thanks for coming today. Are we to have a life of ease without hardship? We are to be tested and to be proven true. We have challenges to beliefs. Are we committed? Periodically, we reevaluate if we are actively obeying God or drifting into sin. If so, the test may be brought by our own hand out of the natural consequences of that, or it could explode out of nowhere, shattering our peace and stability in life. What do? Do you go on a railing accusation, venting how human you feel? Or do you move closer to God in prayer? Are we growing in faith and belief in God? Those are both words. Both words, they're not a state of being, but they're action words. In Genesis 22, Abraham told God to sacrifice his son Isaac. That's a familiar story. But Abraham focuses on the Lord will provide if he obeys. And that plays out in verse 8 of 22. At the end of that, God says, "Now I know." So talk about testing. The story of Joseph's life gives the reader whiplash. He's a favored son. He's sold into slavery. He's top of the servant class. He's in the dungeon. Now he's second under Pharaoh. It's the kickoff of what is foretold in Genesis 15:13, where God tells Abraham his descendants in 400 years will be like the stars in a foreign nation of great multitude. The Egyptians, they fear this foreign nation within may side with an external enemy. So they devise a system and manipulate things to create the caste system of slavery over the Israelites. Now remember, they were in Goshen, a fertile, rich, abundant ranch land of produce. So for the Israelites, it started off as an easy life, and they multiplied greatly. But there is a saying, and I believe it's attributed to a book called The Fourth Turning. It's written by William Strauss and Neil Howe. It goes, "The strong men create good times, and good times create weak men. Weak men create hard times, and hard times create strong men." The Israelites were weak, being maneuvered into the caste system of pointless slavery for another nation. We can surmise that the Israelites knew the story of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob and the promise that it carried for them to be a great nation. But why slavery? And they begin to moan and groan for relief by God, and they're being tested. Why do the Egyptians get to prosper and rule? It's because of their black magic and serving their other gods. Are they rewarded with secret knowledge and favor? They seem to be doing pretty well. In Exodus 3, verse 11 through 15, it's the story of Moses is being sent in to tell Pharaoh, the man God, "Let my people go." Pharaoh is being tested. Does he obey and cause the labor to pull up stakes and leave? Who's going to keep the engine running? He views the Israelites as weak and uneducated. And who is this God? Somebody named Joseph? I don't know. What we read next is the biggest game of chicken in history. It's greater than an aircraft carrier battle group squaring off with a seaman second class manning the lighthouse. We read in Exodus 14:13 through 15, God tells them by Moses' command, stand still, watch God fight your battle. This is to be deep-seated into their memory banks for going forward. The result was 10 plagues of national destruction, a wiped-out military, a Pharaoh was drowned, and the Israelites are delivered. After 430 years, the Israelites, overjoyed, sing the song of Moses. And 3 days later, they are bitterly crying at the bitter waters. We know that they don't have the Holy Spirit. We know they came out of generational slavery, having a low regard for the outlook on their life. And we jump straight to they jump straight to, where's my milk and honey? So reading ahead, we see 10 times that God calls out that they are tested, and he proved that he could not change their mind out of doubt, fear, and lack of faith with the constant murmuring. And that first generation got what they focused on. The comfortable and the familiar is the enemy of personal and collective growth. They were stuck in it. God shows us the very nature of human weakness, of fear and doubt, so that we may recognize it when it begins to flood into our minds. After Jesus' resurrection, he appears numerous times to his followers, and they begin to recover out of the shock of the comfort and stability ripped from them. All of that happened after the crucifixion. Jesus assured them, and they began to believe and to see the vision with clarity now. What comes from that is the gentle message: hang around in Jerusalem just a little longer. In Acts 2, with the Pharisees, these are the descendants of the Nehemiah remnant that rebuilt the second temple. They're keeping tabs on the followers of Jesus who gathered during Pentecost. As followers, they're exercising the transformative belief and faith in God. The living God, in a very public way, points out who he is going to be giving the Holy Spirit to and who is infused with God's strength to do his will. They were tested, and they were found obedient to God's law and acted in faith. The Pharisees, seeing the presence of the tongues of God's presence of the tongues of fire on these followers, this is a test shaking their familiarity. The Pharisees, knowing from history what they see, and realize that during the dedication of the second temple, where the people were rejoicing, were heard from miles away, the presence of God was a no-show. Now seeing this lot of uneducated, unclean people with the Spirit, or the fire, the Pharisees short out. My eyes are not seeing what is before me. This is trickery, drunkenness. Meaning they realize that the presence of God is residing within them, and they are seeing the spiritual temple of God for all the people to see. Truly, this must be trickery of the mind, their mind. Many of them could not dislodge from this comfort of the ritual and the vain pursuit of it. Christ's followers, who experienced the most basic inner drive to act, can you walk and wait for God? They were rewarded with the coming and infusing of the Holy Spirit. This shows us that if we apply the feeblest of human efforts to do God's will, to become closer to God, He will amplify our efforts by working through the Holy Spirit put into us. What we have seen in all of these examples as we wrap up is God expects us to grow, even if. To have a life, a good life, it has to be challenged. It has to be tested. Do your dreams, your ideas, your actions, do they still align with the God-given gifts? Developing in the service to others? Or are you comfortable? Are you numb? We face a dichotomy of wanting growth and progress, of getting ahead. It is generally in the hopes of attaining peace and stability in life. In the span of time, we can become out of balance, or if it's all challenge, we can become burnt out and exhausted. If it's out of balance the other way, it's all peace and fluffy pillows, and it sinks to weakness and contempt. The challenge is a requirement of spiritual growth, and our Father watches the spiritual infants blissfully unaware of the roaring lion seeking to devour. And He's also watching the spiritually mature who are able to see sin in all of its glory and say, "Get behind me, Satan." It is not because of your strength, but it is because by the challenges faced, the faith constructed, and the living relationship with Jesus and the Father. Rest assured, a time of test will come. When it does, make sure you have on speed dial 1-800 Psalms 34, 18 through 19. If you get a busy signal, try texting pound 2 Samuel 21, 1 through 15. And remember, your patience is appreciated as you are a valued client, and Jesus will be with you momentarily. Happy Sabbath.